So, a young lady, a young gentleman who is listening to me, especially a youth who has been born in the Mara, who has been born within this beautiful landscape. The future of this landscape belongs to us.
The youth spoke about the future of the Mara, but somewhere beneath those conversations lived an older story of belonging, memory, and land.
Maasai Mara, ore duo Mara, nenkapai, ore yeta enkapai, Njapit Mara, neaku naa kepadakini Maasai ajo Maasai Mara.
But why does it mean so much?
Ore duo esiai ormaasai naa enakop naa apa ketii irmaasai ninche, neaku duo kenyor irmaasai amu ewueji enye apake natamoo, neaku meeta ejo piidur aapuo.
Land is one of the most precious resources in the world. Once it is changed, it cannot be replaced. That was Mzee Kereto sharing what this land means to him beyond tourism and geography. Maasai are the people and Mara is the spotted plain, and together they carry identity and place. Notice that he speaks of where our people come from and not came from, because in our culture, the past is a continuous tense and still dictating our present. Almost every evening as I walk back home beneath the Mara sunsets, I'm reminded that I walk on land older than myself. And along those paths, I often meet people who have lived on this land far longer than I have. I bow my head. An elder places a hand gently on it, a Maasai way of greeting. In this culture, the young do not shake hands with their elders, so when little Maasai children come running toward you with their heads bowed, you know exactly what to do. It is respect, a quiet, beautiful respect. And this episode, we sit with the people who respect the most, our elders. Mzee Kereto's story will form the backbone of this episode, while Mzee Njapit offering brief reflections that help complete the picture.
Kibaba ngwesi amu menya teniari menya kiri meyieu nkiri ngwesi. Neaku ore naa dii apa ninye peetii emenyai naa amu menya ninche irmaasai. Neaku naa meeri. Ore apa meeta esiai osekenke naa keetae apa olokeri, entoki naji olokeri. Naa ore apa olokeri naa oloolasho, olaram, ilasho, kulo taata nintayu duo olokeri taata nemenya nkishu, nemenya kake ntare, nemenya kake nkishu. Neaku naa ore ake peeleng'u enkop, naa ilaashak oanya ninche. Ore nkishu neidur ninche apuo ewueji neelakwa penyo.
Did you catch that? For generations, the community already knew how to protect and set aside space. But their boundaries were living things made of brushwood and trees, shifting with the seasons and the needs of the animals. But around 7 decades ago, a different kind of boundary arrived. A new presence stepped onto this land, a man who did not speak the Maa language and who looked at the horizon not for grass or rain, but for a permanent line. From this moment, the traditional balance began to meet a foreign concept, one that would later be understood as modern conservation. Mzee Kereto and Mzee Njapit both remember this turning point through a man they call temple.
Neaku taadi ore entoki apa naewuo aitamoki iyiok naa olashumpai apa ojo temple peelotu aitayu elaale loong'uesi.
Naa keeda ena katini kalimu ake sinanu nayiolo amu keeda enkatini e Maasai Mara. Ore kibulu iyiok karibu taata larin 10 ina pee kiaku iyiok iltung'anak. Naa ore pee kibulu iyiok naa keetae apa olashumpai oji temple. Ore olashumpai oji temple naa Pardamat emanya, ninye taata netii Pardamat. Nkambi enye apa kulo lera tenkata oongeresa. Ore apa ele ashumpai oji temple nelotu apa amanaa tenakop naa keer iltomia nemanaa tenakop naa ore inakata naa kelakwa oleng. Iltung'anak duo naaji laa Inyangusi apa eesishore.
Mzee Kereto recalls Temple borrowing land to protect animals, while Mzee Njapit remembers him working closely with the herders of the Nyangusi age set, dealing with problem elephants. Whether in the 1950s or stretching into the decades that followed, the elders' memories reveal that Temple's presence wasn't just a single moment in time. It was an era, a long transition where wildlife, people, and conflict frequently overlapped, and where local responses to outsiders were still being figured out. In the official history books, this maps onto the late colonial and early post-independence periods of the 50s and the 60s, when game reserves were first being carved out across East Africa. But in the landscape's memory, history is recorded by the characters who changed the flow of the land. And Temple is recalled for one specific request that altered everything. The elders remember that moment with surprise. Who does that? Why would a white man want to protect wild animals? They would ask. To them, it did not make sense at first, but Temple continued to make his request, asking the community to give him a piece of land where he could protect wildlife. And slowly, the community began listening. At that time, Talek was not what it is today. Talek was different. It was quiet, open, and sparsely inhabited. Only a few homesteads stood at its edges, surrounded by the vast grazing lands, wildlife corridors, and stretched freely across the Mara. And it is in this quieter landscape that the story of Temple begins. So according to Mzee Kereto, Temple lived in Wasonyiro. He would move between areas like Kikorok, where he met the Bushmen, people he believed understood wildlife deeply. He chose to work with them and even gave them weapons. He believed that this land could truly protect wild animals. And when predators killed livestock, people would call him and he would come and deal with the animals. Nothing should come in between Maasai people and their livestock. The community came to trust him because he also responded when predators attacked livestock.
Ore peelotu aomonu enewueji neramatie ng'uesi nelotu ajoki nejo taa irmaasai ore enikingo irpayiani taa kipuo doi yiok mipoto lolorukoti kulikae lolookaka apa terito otii tolorukoti neponu atumo tene kulo lang apa otii ene lolonkoitoi meetuni taa ajo maape aisho metirisha tale orkeju le tale metirisha yiok peelo aya idia kop ang meeta olasai akonya ore inakop naa olasai akonya ama menyoo namanya kata metii duake ninye aitoki enakop itoning'o basi nerikuni taa meetuni dii apuo aisho inakop endakop ajo taa sinanu naa piilo ayiolou endapaak basi inakata taa peponunui aisho ninye ajo naa sinanu naa piilo ayiolou ore ake peishori nelo apik maap.
After this trust was built, Temple asked for a piece of land to set aside for wildlife. But what followed was something many of them had never seen before.
Erikita apa ole Nambaso ninye orbungei mendoi ninye orbungei orkarani apa eton apa oti orkarani nerikito ole Ntutu olaiguanani sininye kiti ajo nanu ore taa peeriku nejoki ore ake piitabaiki siketa nejoki entabaiki ene matabaiki ene naito idialo nejia mikiyieu yiok amu mikiyiolo ewueji nikirishare nemetii oreyiet meyioloi naa ajo keyioloi ninye olashumbai aitai maap meyioloi nejia oreyiet ake olaariki yiok amu ninye kiyiolo asi nepuoi nejo sawa etomitiyoki taa ore peedoyiori yiolo nkang'itie natii abori teidie natii naijo kemanya nkang'itie enkalo orbaribara etu doi nyoo itu taa giree inesekeyian ore doi ibai etaani idolta enesekeyian idol nkang'itie tene torbaribara nitasheyie teine enyaakata adamisho nitoki ejokini oreyiet oriki yiok nedamisho nejoki ore taa metaa oreyiet olaariki yiok etaa maape ore etaa tonyorrai ajo oreyiet oriki yiok kake ore naaji amu itejo naa oreyiet ake oriki yiok natonyorrayie enchooki enaari enkima paa tenadol amu noloshi ndaa opejisho ajo naa sinanu naa nanang'are enkima itu elotu ajing enewueji paak.
To show Temple the land he had been given, several men from the community walked with him across the Mara. Among them was Mzee Nambaso, who at that time served as a police officer and would later become a member of parliament alongside elders such as Ntutu. They moved through the landscape together, pointing out places the way Maasai communities had always understood land through rivers, memory, grazing routes, and natural signs. But as the elders described the land around him, Temple was quietly doing something many of them did not understand yet. He was drawing a map. At a place called Seketa, Temple asked the men to escort him beyond the river, but the elders hesitated. Beyond that point, the land no longer carried a familiar marker they relied on. There were no landmarks. There was nothing they could confidently use to guide him further. So the conversation turned to the river itself. Temple asked for an allowance just beyond it, a buffer space, he explained, that could help stop fire from spreading into the wildlife area during outbreaks from the community side. Eventually, both sides agreed that the river will define the edge of the protected land. But they were not imagining that line the same way. To the elders, the river marked a living, breathing end to Temple's request. A boundary that could shift if the seasons demanded it. But Temple's paper understood it differently. He was creating an unyielding grid, a line that could not move no matter how dry the plains became. Neither the elders nor Temple could fully know it then, but the map drawn on that riverbank was a trapdoor, and when it closed, everything changed. In part 2 of the Mara before the map, the lines on that paper turn into a battlefield. We follow what happened when the government arrived to enforce Temple's grid, the physical fights that broke out over water in the dry seasons, and how our community went from open warfare to building the modern conservancies we see today. Keep your head bowed and listen closely. Part 2 is up next.
Anyarenga vansidai.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Anyarenga vansidai.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Anyarenga vansidai.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Ninyera ngwarabogin.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Ninyerumya gilrumya.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Ninyerumya gindimi.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Enana borelonyo.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Ninyeje burielongok.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Ninyebwanula shumba.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.
Anyarenga vansidai.
Ahe, anyarenga vansidai.